Listen, we are on Bruce Springsteen settings. Hulk Hogan in 1986. This is the Real American Show. Born in the USA. Love it or leave it, brother. This is USA versus England post-game recap. We're only going to be on here probably half an hour, if that. It is Thanksgiving weekends, holiday weekends. We're going to let folks get back to their family. But we had to talk about it. Maybe the most hype group game in the history of the World Cup, the United States versus England. And it went for me about the way I thought it was going to go. But I'm going to bring in Brian McBride and Bruce Springsteen, Joe. Fellas, 0-0. How you feel about it?
Go ahead, Joe.
I get to go first. Wow, thank you. I feel okay with it. A draw is a good result because it keeps us in the driver's seat. The game against Iran, we win that, we automatically qualify for the group stage. They played really well. If you negate the 0-0 scoreline, I think the USA played better than England did. And it was a much better and a more complete performance from the boys today than it was against Wales. And against Wales, we played really good in the first half. And then the energy just kind of sapped out in the second half. And that what led to the penalty call and Wales drawing with us. But today, they maintained the same energy level, the same effort, and the same performance throughout the whole game. So I was proud of the way they played today. A draw is a good result because it keeps the ball in our hands. So we control our own destiny going forward still, and we know what we got to do against Iran. We don't have to worry about the other games results. It's all on their shoulders, and I just hope that they play the way they did today because they gave a good performance. We weren't clinical enough in front of goal. We had a couple of really clear chances that we just didn't finish, but they played well today. Zach, what you got?
I'm not pleased. A draw doesn't matter really. I mean, a loss would have kept us in the same position. A win would still, secure us the go ahead. So I don't know. I felt like they left a lot out there. They left a lot of meat on the bone. They looked hungry. They looked good. I'm not disputing the fact that they played well as a team. But at some point, knowing that you could have been going into the match with Iran and a draw would see you through, why not sell out? Because at the end of the day, 3 points still puts you 1 point above Iran next week, against them. I don't know. I saw they definitely had to grow into the game. They did not come out super energetic. I think they almost played scared. And I get it to a degree. They're a bunch of 20, young 20-year-olds. They're the third youngest team in the tournament playing against the mighty English. It had, and the reason I called it the Revolutionary War Part 2 because it had those vibes. It had the young Americans who wanted change. They were fighting against the powerhouse that is, and the storyline was there. A draw is not a bad result by any means. I don't know why you didn't go for it. Especially given what we saw from Southgate in England. He played, and I think Steve, mentioned it in the group, he played to not lose. And because in his eyes, a loss was more damaging than not going through.
If I am an England fan today, it's what we talked about in the previous show. England has all this attacking talent. Like, they probably have more attacking talent than I've ever seen England had at any point. And this even goes back to Rooney and Beckham and them days. But you just know Gareth Southgate is going to have them in handcuffs. And which is why I see where Zach is coming from, because I think it's like, you know, when you learn how to ride a bike and you get pushed on the bike and without the training wheels, you're like, oh, snap, I'm going to fall. Realize that about 1,000 feet in, no, I'm not going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the U.S. played for 30 minutes. It was, we're going to fall. We're going to fall. Like, no, you're doing fine.
Yeah.
And then it's like, England doesn't really have anything for us today, which is why I kind of lean towards Zach's point, because I thought they could have really, apart from the fact that it advances you into the knockouts, to beat England, this would have been a thing if they had beat England today.
Would have been seismic.
It would have been. So the draw again, I'm like Zach, draw is okay. The draw is okay.
Mm-hmm.
They were there to be beat.
Mm-hmm.
They were there to be beat. This was not, you know, you're going to look at the scoreline if you're a casual or didn't see, you're going to say, oh, 0-0. The United States, I believe, outplayed them for a vast majority of that game. And I just think they just didn't quite have the guy behind Zach, Brian McBride. They needed somebody with a little bit of experience up front. Just a little bit of experience. I think they win it, but
that's the one that's
go ahead.
That's the biggest complaint I have with this team. And you know, maybe it's because they're young. And maybe that's the reason that they don't have this style of player. Tyler Adams is the closest thing to Brian McBride that this team has. They don't have grit. They don't have the fight, or, you know, in the words of our esteemed colleague Jay Ham, they don't have that dog in them. You know, they don't have, you know, when you talk about this match with Italy that Brian McBride played in, literally got busted open, you know, and all that did was make him buckle down and fight that much harder. And I don't think this team has that. I feel like if they get punched in the mouth, they're going to fold. And again, maybe that's because they're young. Maybe it's just because they don't have it. They don't have that type of player to do that. I was pleased with you know, some of the players and their progression. I thought Weston was a far cry from what he showed in that first match. He was much better. I liked Haji Wright up top a lot more than I liked Josh Sargent. But at the same time, we're still beating into that same pattern with the US and our number 9. Like we continually do this U-shaped passing, you know, back and forth, and then we whip across in. Up until very late, when I think it was McKinney who made that interior pass in the middle to Pulisic, you know, which got smothered right away. Like that was the only like penetrating pass in the middle of the, you know, the attacking third that I really saw.
A lot of things on the perimeter.
And that's a fault of the United States, because we are not great on set pieces. We had 7 corners. 7. And I didn't feel like we really showed anything from any of them.
And the difference on those set pieces today was Christian was actually putting in good balls this time.
Exactly.
Last time against Wales, all of his set pieces were terrible. None of them got any height. They never beat the first defender. But today he was actually putting in great balls, and there wasn't people attacking. There wasn't people crashing to the ball. Everyone was kind of stationary. So that was frustrating. And I think for today's result, what makes me frustrated more is the draw against Wales, because with that, if we have a win in our pocket, we're sitting on 4 points right now, and all we need to do going forward is draw, and we're in great shape. So the performance today, like I said, was better, but it really frustrates the second half against Wales a couple of days ago. And I think today Berhalter continued his pattern of waiting too long to make changes. He had Aronson ready to go like 7 minutes in, but the ball never went out of play, so I don't fault him on that one. But you waited to bring on 2 more attacking players in Gio and Sargent until like the 83rd minute. And with 7 minutes maybe to go with stoppage time, that's not enough time for those guys to get into the flow and really make a difference, because our guys are not instant impact subs that are going to come in, get on the ball, and make a darting, run with the ball and create something. They're guys that are going to need some time to get going into the game. So you have to make that change significantly earlier in the game if you're going to do that. Otherwise, it's just too late to change the way the game's going.
Yeah, I think go ahead, Ronnie.
No, it's understanding the game situation. Like at 65, 70 minutes, you got the game under control.
Mm-hmm.
England never to me look like you watch a France, a Brazil, what we saw out of Spain, and you're like, okay, these are teams, if we make a mistake, they're gonna kill us.
Mm-hmm.
England never looked like they were gonna do that today.
Mm-hmm.
Never. And to me, it's like when we get to like the 65, 70 minute mark, we got 20, 25 minutes left. They're not gonna do anything. Like Joe said, roll the dice. Go to Reina at the 65th minute instead of the 83rd minute.
If I'm Greg Berhalter and I see Gareth Southgate and his sub is Jordan Henderson for Jude Bellingham, right there, that's the switch in my head that, okay, he's not going for it. Now, to credit Jordan, and I gave him a lot of shtick when he made that, he made a pretty good impact in his own way. He's not dynamic like Jude is, but he made smart runs. If I'm Greg, like, okay, he's not, if this is his substitution while Aronson's sitting there waiting, Reina goes up and stands next to him. Even if Shaq Moore is the sub, that goes with him for Dest, so be it. But don't wait, because then you get into another situation where you're waiting for 5-6 minutes of, the ball to go out of play. And I don't care what player you are, very rarely are you going to get, I think they got maybe 12 minutes when it was all said and done, to run out there and try and make an impact. That's not fair. That's not fair to Gio. That's not fair to anybody. I'm really interested to see what this lineup's going to look like on Tuesday. Because like I watched the entire Iran match today. They looked scary. Now, again, this is Wales, and we saw what should have been with the Wales game for us. I'm curious if Sardar Azmoun will be able to play. He picked up an injury there late. He was a huge impact for that team. If it's just Taremi up top, then they're not nearly as lethal as when you have Taremi and Azmoun up there. But to credit Iran, he, the coach made his subs at 65, 70 minutes, and the 2 goals were scored by 2 subs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know what more you want.
Yeah. So Zach has talked about the lack of experience. So now these are the situations where now, if you are a US fan, now it's a team you quote unquote should beat. But we've seen the US in these type situations in World Cup qualifiers against somebody you're supposed to beat. We saw them not make the tournament in 2018 because of I think it was Trinidad and Tobago was another.
Just needed a result.
Needed any against Trinidad, didn't get it.
Yeah.
So now you got, so Joe, I'm gonna go back to you with this really young team, youngest team in the tournament. I think the least amount of experience of anybody in the tournament in this spot. Your level of confidence against a team that, as Zach pointed out, you probably should beat.
I would say I'm in that like 60-40 range of we're going to go ahead and progress at this point. I still have memories of being super disappointed and angry and frustrated from that Trinidad game. I was telling my wife that that particular game, I think I was the most not disappointed, but just like straight pissed off and angry than I'd ever been in a sporting event that I support for a team. Like I've been disappointed by teams a lot, but just to be that like angry and upset and at a loss. So that still sits there. A draw still, I think, gets us through on goal differential, barring a Wales, tie or loss.
No, a draw puts Iran 1 point ahead of us because they're a point ahead of us right now. They're on 3 points. We're on 2.
Right. Okay. So a win. Still, I think in that 60% confidence rating. We still have better players. They're, like Zach said, they're missing one of their better players because of the yellow card situation. So I think that makes a big difference. I did not watch the game with Iran and Wales, but I watched some of the highlights, and it took a red card and scoring in the last 2 minutes twice to win 2-0.
They dominated every single minute of that.
No. What I'm saying is that's what gave them the win. I didn't, like I said, I didn't watch, but it took a sending off and then 2 late goals to go through, even if they did dominate Wales. So I think they win. It's not going to be comfortable. I think it's going to be a 1-goal game, either 1-0, 2-1. That kind of situation is going to come down to the last dying embers of however much stoppage time is going to be awarded, because we have seen a drastic amount of stoppage time added to every match, except for maybe 2, where it's 10 minutes added on at the end of the game. So we'll see if that plays a factor. But I think at the end of it, we're going to come out and beat Iran in a 1-goal differential, whatever that might be, 3-2, 2-1, 1-0.
I'll say this. If you also, so I think they can go ahead and beat Iran. I think England is very fortunate that they scored as many goals they scored. Not fortunate because they earned it. Getting that huge result versus Iran the first match gives you some cushion. But boy, I don't understand it. And maybe I don't have enough of a football mind to understand why you can have that much talent and just play so pedestrian the way they did today. Like it. And Zach, I don't know if you felt this. I felt like from the minute go, they had no interest in winning.
No, they lack the desire to finish anything. You saw it with Mount. You saw it with Sterling and Saka, Kane. They just didn't have that fight, and maybe it's because they had 6 goals in the first match, and they know that pretty much no matter what, they're through. So I don't know. And that's, again, this is part of the reason that the draw is so frustrating for me from my standpoint, because had we been in a situation like Joe had kind of alluded to, is if we were level on points with Iran, I would have felt a lot more comfortable because of goal differential alone. We would have been in a decent situation. But here we are now where we have to win. So you are going to have to go into a situation where you're going to have to play aggressive, and that's going to leave you exposed. There were a couple times when I saw, Jedi up that left flank make a run and then a quick counter, and that whole right side for England was, wide open. And had England been in the mindset to punish us, this game could have been ugly. But they didn't care. And this is also something that I think the US does. They're perpetually bad at this. They play to the skill level of their opponents. Against poor teams, they just kind of mail it in and assume that because they're athletic and they're talented that they're going to get the result they want and that good things will come because they've earned it. Nah, fuck that. Like, go out with that killer mindset to everybody you play, whether it's Portugal, whether it's England, whether it's Iran, whether it's Trinidad and Tobago. I don't care if it's the sisterhood of the traveling pants. Like, put 100 against them.
Screams immaturity, right?
Yeah.
Because they say all the right things. I hear Greg talking about it. I heard Tyler talking about it in the previews and the interviews that they had leading up to the game. Was we have the mentality that we can beat anybody and yada yada yada. That's great to say, but we need to see you guys back that up on the field and show that kind of mentality. And today, I think they did for the most part. It's just like the 9 situation just is still the frustrating part. And the option you have is Sargent. When you decided to leave Ricardo Pepi and Jordan Pefok at home, both who have similar profiles to Haji, that could have been as physical, because he did well with using his physicality. He did not do that in the Wales second half. He was very timid and did not play well. Today, I think Haji did better, but
But you can't expect a target striker like Haji or Pefok or Pepi to do anything if you're not going to feed them the ball. That's what makes guys like Lewandowski and Kane and Benzema so great, is that they know that they are a target point. Even Giroud, like, feed the man the ball, allow them multiple touches. When you are poor at crossing, when you are poor at set pieces, you have to get creative. And if you're going to bring players like Haji Wright and start him, then your game plan needs to be around them. I don't care if your number 9 is not the best player on the pitch. He needs to be your focal point of attack if that's what you're going to put out there. If you want a playmaker who's going to roam around and run that false 9 and play that free-flowing kind of Pep style, fine. Then you can play whatever you want and tiki-taka and play those type of passes. But if you're going to put a target man in that number 9 spot, then I'm going to be Keyshawn here. Give me the damn ball.
Yeah, that's why in the group I was mentioning it might be a better suit in this particular situation to put in Ferreira, who's not a target guy at all. He's somebody who's going to be dropping to look to pick up passes. He's going to be making more runs instead of somebody who's just occupying a space and hoping to get the ball. Because we clearly were not looking to put balls in from the wide margins, which is weird considering that's where we fed the ball the majority of the time. We got it out wide a lot, but they really weren't putting in a ball after ball after ball. So it felt like if that wasn't going to be the option, then you needed to put somebody in there where the front 3 could be more dynamic and floating in different places, where it's harder for Stones and Maguire, who already both have shown in the past have trouble with marking at times, to make it more difficult on them on who they were going to pick up.
Yeah, with Stones and Maguire is you have to, who are obviously they're taller center back, but they're not as mobile. You have to draw them and move them around. If you just let Harry Maguire and John Stones sit in the same 2-yard spot for 90 minutes, then you're going to get articles like, this is the revival of Harry Maguire, which is like, what happened?
Yeah, and so if this is what you're going to play, then Haji Wright should have started the game against Wales, and either Sargent or Ferreira should have started this match against England, because I didn't see a single one, and maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't see a single run in behind the center backs from a number 9. I honestly, I didn't see one period from any attacker. And
There
that's
was
how
a
you
couple moments where like Weah or Pulisic were, but whoever had the ball at the time just didn't feed it to him. But it was maybe I counted maybe 2 or 3 maximum the whole
But
game.
I think Zach's point about the inexperience and the confidence to just see the pass, see the run, and just play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's intercepted or not, that doesn't matter.
Yep.
Now, the United States, for all the good work they did, they were about too just hesitant.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like the pass is there. Do I really want to play it?
You know who the biggest guilty party of that is Walker Zimmerman, who could have played, and he did. To his credit, he played numerous times, even though they routinely got intercepted. A long, deep penetrating ball. Now, granted, it was out wide; it wasn't through the center. But you see a lot of great teams, i.e., Brazil, with guys like Marquinhos and Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva's brilliant at it. Able to make that very long pass quickly and put it in the right spot, in the center. And that having that ability would be a total game changer.
Yeah, we would dwell on the ball too long. We would take a touch, pick our head up, see a pass, and then take another 2 touches before they decided to send it. And in elite level competition, be it club or international football, you got time for 1 touch, then you got to make a pass. You can't take 2 or 3 and then try to make a decision, because that space is going to be closed down very quickly, and the angle that you're going to have is no longer there. So you got to make your decisions very, very quickly. And we didn't really do that.
You watch Spain, even though they're not as good as Spain. You watch Japan, they get it and they go.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zach talked about the experience, Joe's talked about the experience. When you don't quite have the experience of that confidence, you think about it maybe just a second too long.
Yeah.
And the opportunity goes away. Whereas the Germanys, the Spains, the Brazils, the France, they get it and it's gone. Like no one holds the ball 2-3 seconds on those things. They get it and they go.
Well, and that's another fault of the U.S. And I'm sure I'll get hate for being an MLS hater, but when you have players who play in the Champions League or even the Europa League, for crying out loud, like you're still going against elite level talent week in and week out. And so you and this is not, I'm not slamming Walker for this, but you don't get that practice against a high level competition to where you realize that, I don't have time to make these and sit on the ball and think about it. I have to go. I have to make that decision quickly. And that's the difference between, the elite of the elite, and whether that's club, whether that's internationally. I mean, truth be told, even England for all of their, pedestrianness in the middle of the back, Stones was light years ahead of Maguire as far as talent wise.
Absolutely.
I joked with Jimmy in the group that Stones is by far the best center back on the pitch, and he gets a lot of shtick from Jimmy and Aaron. But
he was the best center back on the pitch.
No, 100%. I wasn't. The joking part was Jimmy actually tuning in to watch him shut down Haji, because they give him a lot of shtick. But Stones has been very good for the last 2 years. So,
Stones is somebody who could play outside of Gareth Southgate's system.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Maguire cannot.
Accurate.
And
Stones has shown that with Pep, that he's capable of more.
If England faces any team with a striker that's going to actually make Harry Maguire work and make him move, they're going to be in trouble.
They're toast.
They will be in
toast.
They just haven't anybody yet who's really tested him.
They better hope Ecuador. They better hope that Ecuador don't finish second in that group, because we've seen in the first 2 matches what Valencia can do. He will make those runs and he will punish you for them. So,
shout out to Julio, because he brought those up when we had our World Cup preview show that Ecuador was going to give them a run for their money if that's how the matchup shook out, and Ecuador has been hell for anybody that's played against them so far. So because Netherlands and Ecuador today, to get off a little slight tangent, Ecuador looked really good today against Netherlands, even though they drew.
And just to talk about what you're saying with Maguire being able to not play outside of Southgate's system. Shout out to KDB, who said, the other day that when you play internationally, your style of play has to be adapted to the players that you have. You can't have a rigid system and expect internationally to succeed. You have to be flexible and play to the strengths of what you have. Yep. And that's Southgate and Triple G are, cut from the same cloth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he said it was. Does it frustrate him at times? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not playing with like his City teammates who know when to make certain runs and have been schooled and drilled a certain way. Then he has to do better as not show his frustration level with that. So that's some honesty coming from a top tier player and a big international team, because you don't really see them saying that too often. Usually it's just rah 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 about my national team, and he was coming with the honesty of it's frustrating at times when they're not up to snuff with my ability.
KDB, like, can we get Erling Haaland a passport,
please? Get him.
Yeah, because I'm sorry, like, no offense, Mishi, but if you're gonna go from Holland to Batshuayi,
not just.
And having Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden and all those guys around you.
Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden. Yeah.
Ilkay Gundogan.
Yeah.
I think I don't have an issue with Belgium's midfielders and wide attackers. I think their biggest issue is their number 9, because Tielemans is more than capable of playing a similar style. Hazard's played it, as long as he can be healthy. And Witsel is very capable of doing it. He did it at Dortmund. Now, granted, never to the level of what City replicate, but when you have a number 9 who understands that style of play, it unlocks so much more as a team. And nobody that Roberto Martinez is going to put out there is capable of doing that.
So I gave my prediction. I think we're going to win and progress. Before we wrap up, what do you guys think?
I saw enough today to feel like they'll beat Iran. I think you're right, Joe. It will probably be a nail biter. I think it'll be some high drama, but I think they're good enough, even young, to beat Iran. Go grab second. I think England will probably be Wales. I think England, even if they have another pedestrian performance, will be Wales. Although will be Wales, and they're gonna comfortable enough goal difference. So yeah, my prediction: U.S. wins. U.S. ends up in second.
Zachary, I see you want to do it.
I got this bad feeling. I got this bad feeling that they're going to get up, they're going to score a goal, and then, or worse, they're going to go down, and they're going to get too attacking, too pressing, and they're going to concede another. I want to be optimistic. I really do. Like I liked what I saw today, truly and genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not confident that our manager is enough to make it through. And Lord help us if we do, because any matchup is bad for the US in the knockouts.
So I would rather face Netherlands than Ecuador.
Agreed.
Netherlands hasn't shown much of anything in my book, and it was exactly what we talked about in the preview show, where they're going to struggle to score goals. And outside of Gakpo, they have nothing going forward. Nothing at all.
It also shows this is why Erling Haaland is worth 100 and whatever million. And if he were to decide to leave in 2 years, he'll be worth some obscene amount of money. You just can't pay enough for people who can put the ball in the back of the net
on a consistent basis.
who can consistently.
When you got that in your team, it's so much easier to play football.
And you look at the Netherlands. Netherlands, in my day, it was Patrick Kluivert, Roel van Nistelrooy, Robin van Persie. They people who could score.
Yeah.
And they do and Netherlands does everything well until the last 10 yards. You get to the last 10 yards. United States today. Everything until the last 10 yards.
Yeah.
Whereas you watch other teams and they get it, you like as much as we joke, my man, my number 9, the OG, when Olivier Giroud gets in the box within 10 yards, it's a goal.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's confident. He knows how he's going to go ahead and score.
I don't even feel that we have someone like Richarlison, for crying out loud, who has the ability to do it, because that man is not a number 9 by any stretch of the imagination. And he's doing it. He probably put the goal of the tournament, albeit it was because of a really poor first touch, but that's neither here nor there.
Or it could have been super intentional. He meant to do it that way. Samba football is alive, bro.
Samba.
So real quick, I'm gonna get out of here. Zach, Joe, give me the 1 or 2 quick, the lineup adjustment you make versus Iran, if there's one to be made.
I think you keep the same back 4. I think the midfield stays the same, and I think you put Gio or Aronson in and play a false 9 and make it a little bit more fluid.
I would keep Haji up top. I would probably put 5 in the midfield. 4-2-3-1 is probably what I would play. Have Adams and McKinney, or Musa. It doesn't really, I could care less, which one you put back there with Adams. And then have Pulisic, Aronson, and I would have Pulisic, Gio, and Weah, and have Aronson come off the bench.
Almost like a 4-2-3-1 situation.
That's what I said.
I missed that part. My phone was, and I looked to the right briefly, and it had been at the exact time you were saying.
Yeah, I would put him in a 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
And play him that way. Ideally, you keep the same formation you did today, and put Ferreira in. But seeing as he hasn't played in the first 2 matches, I highly doubt they're going to try him out there for an elimination match.
And he hasn't played in a month in his club league either. So
right.
He's very rusty, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So I don't know this. I don't know as much. You all follow a lot deeper. So this is what I'm saying is a super casual. The man over Joe's right shoulder, left on the screen. This really becomes, is this going to be the Christian Pulisic moment? One match, you need to win it. You are the guy with some experience that's playing at top level football. Captain America, yada, yada, yada.
Ain't Captain anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to make
that's
it.
The other, nope, that's Serginho. Never mind.
You hate to make it about one person. He's got to be. He got to give me something.
He's got to.
100%. He's got to be the one to either create the chance like he did against Wales and get the assist, or he's got to be the one finishing it off and dragging us into the knockout stage.
And there you have it, folks. Stoppage Time FC post game USA versus England. We will we'll be back Wednesday. I think the group stages will be over on Wednesday. Or close.
It's close to it. Let's see the last match. Last group stage match.
Saturday is when the knockout rounds start.
Okay, so when does USA Ireland?
That's
USA
Tuesday.
So Wednesday we might be finishing up.
No,
so Wednesday we'll
Friday.
have
Friday. Okay, so we got
Friday
group
is
stage
the
matches
end of the
off
group
first.
stages. Yep.
But we will have the USA result
yeah.
in hand by
We'll
the
have-
time
we
we
will either-
come back.
It'll either be Joy or it'll be the post-mortem on Wednesday.
We will see.
Unless this man's walking through the door or a
Let-
variation of
Right.
him.
That door. This is
Indeed.
the Joe